If you've seen my video on Vancouver's housing problem, you're probably aware that Canada is in the midst of a significant property market crisis. The average home costs $700,000 and wages have not kept pace. If you've read the news lately in Canada, you may have heard about a possible cap on international students. This is a huge thing because the $30 billion business keeps universities and colleges open. But with over 700,000 new students accepted into Canada's universities and colleges, it's becoming a genuine issue as to where these students will be able to live. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let's dive into Canada's student problem. You see, Canada is aiming to tie down on unethical colleges that profit from international student tuition payments without giving any attention to where those students would live. Sean Fraser, Minister of Housing, stated, "The rising influx of international students, along with inadequate infrastructure to support them, has had an influence on Canada's rental housing market. For many international students, access to on-campus housing is limited or non-existent, making off-campus housing the only practical housing option. According to data, the surge of international students have contributed to Greater Vancouver, or the Metro Vancouver Regional District, having one of the country's tightest rental market. In 2007-2008, the Metro Vancouver University and Colleges had 11,236 and 4,013 international students respectively. By 2016-2017, these figures had more than doubled and tripled, with 26,456 international students attending universities and 13,558 international students attending colleges. Greater Vancouver's rental vacancy has dropped during the same 10-year period. The rate of rental vacancy fell from 0.6% in 2008 to 0.3% in 2018. Along with the Greater Toronto Area, Metro Vancouver suffers not only a rental vacancy problem, but also a significant affordability challenge. According to Demographia's International Property Affordability Survey 2020, Vancouver is the world's second most unaffordable property market, with Toronto ranking 6th. These housing market characteristics make it extremely difficult for an overseas student with limited resources, forcing them to choose lower quality homes. Many students live in overcrowded suites to share the rental expense in order to afford the higher rents. In fact, nearly 20% of respondents to CALSA Aid's international students within Canada survey said they lived in overcrowded housing. The high expense of tuition and housing is a huge strain for many overseas students. Not only that, but Canada is concerned about the overall integrity of the market that educates hundreds of thousands of international students. The academic ecosystem that attracts international students is very lucrative, but it has some unintended consequences, some systemic fraud. And this was said by Immigration Minister Mark Miller on an interview. And this comes after news broke that over 700 international students from India were victims of fraud. You see, what happened is over 700 Indian students were sent with deportation warnings by the Canadian Border Security Agency, also known as CBSA, after their admission offer letters to educational institutions were discovered to be fraudulent. When the students arrived in Canada, they were denied seats and were forced to enroll in lesser-known colleges. Following the completion of their courses and job obligations, the students applied for Canadian permanent residencies and provided supporting documentation. The problem began when CBSA scrutinized the documentation used to determine which visas were issued to the students. Then they discovered phony admission offer letters. After providing all students with an opportunity for a hearing, deportation notices were given to all of them. So, what is the answer to Canada's international student crisis? How can they improve it, become more organized, and provide actual value for the service they provide without putting a strain on the local housing market? While a cap has been mentioned, it's also been criticized by a few parties, and the Prime Minister of Canada is also urging Canadians not to blame international students for the housing crisis. And he's correct in that regard. While international students may add strain to the market, they're not the sole cause of the issue, and at the end of the day, if we welcome these students through policies, we should have policies and regulations in place to assist not only students, but everyone in finding good, cheap housing, and this, as previously mentioned, could be helped by government policies. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned a bit more about Canada's student crisis. If you liked this video, you'd definitely appreciate my video going over Vancouver's housing market. Please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.